All right, you guys really enjoyed my day one of the Bassmaster Classic report, and so today I'm going to talk about day two. Now, the day is not officially over, but there are some things that are starting to happen out there on Lake Ray Roberts that are very interesting to me. A couple of big changes that some of the anglers have made today have really helped to boost them up in the standings. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Also, what tomorrow brings, kind of what I think is about to happen. This thing is exciting. I love the Classic. I love every tournament, but the Classic is the Super Bowl. Now, before we get into it, because of the Bassmaster Classic, I've been doing a big sale over at the Fin Fishing website. And as you can see, I have this huge box here full of a bunch of baits. And basically anyone who buys anything right now over at Fin Fishing, whether it's a hat, a sun shirt, a shorts, whatever it may be, gets one of these free lures. So I've got some X-Zone products in here, some worms, some Yamamoto. I mean, a bunch of stuff. I also have actually 3 reels left that I'm giving away. These are used reels. I actually just found this one today. It's a Revo Rocket, a $300 reel. Anyways, they're used, but they are still in working order, and I'm just going to throw them in some of the packages as well. Also, anyone who buys a sun shirt or a pair of shorts gets a blood stop formula. So a lot of free stuff going out the door, and basically you have until tomorrow night to purchase something to get some of this free stuff. But anyways, shopping at Fin Fishing is the best way to help support this channel. I greatly appreciate all of you who have done so. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the Classic. I did this video yesterday, and it was the first time I'd done anything, and you guys really seemed to like it, so I'm just going to kind of continue on. But man, this has been a very interesting day two of the Classic, because yesterday we saw a pretty good amount of wind across the entire system, and guys were actually catching fish pretty good on moving baits specifically throughout the day. And I'm not saying that they didn't catch them on moving baits today, but it definitely seems like the wind that has shifted and the lack thereof wind has really made some big differences in the way that those fish are biting right now on Ray Roberts. Now, this morning we saw Lee Livesey, who probably has the most knowledge of this body of water, really get off to a big start. He was fishing in kind of the area that has a lot of milfoil, a lot of timber, primarily catching his fish around the grass. And he started catching them the same way that he left off catching them yesterday. So yesterday at the very end of the day, he started catching them on a pink chatterbait. I don't know the exact brand. I just know it is a bubblegum flavored chatterbait of some sort with a big 6 cents piece of plastic on the back. Today he started catching some fish like that, but he actually made a really good change. I think it's something not to gloss over, but he changed from using a chatterbait, which, as we know, it's a lot of vibration in that specific bait, but he changed over from using that to using more of a swim bait, just kind of like a weightless Texas rig swim bait. It is the Whale by 6 cents. So definitely a lot more of a subtle approach. And yesterday, if you look at some of the footage, or even this morning, there was a lot of wind going on that system, and you can tell that it completely slacked off. And when it slacked off, he made the change from the chatterbait to that swim bait, just that single hook swim bait, and he was able to pick up his limit. And right now he's sitting, I believe, in 3rd place, one of the better bags of the day. But the big kind of story of the day right now is Easton Fothergill. I may have butchered that name completely, actually, but he has really kind of taken the place, I guess you can say, of what we saw Trey McKinney doing yesterday. Now, if you guys notice, what Easton and what Trey have been doing is targeting a lot of bass that are suspended up in trees. This is not something that is new, specifically to, Texas in general. There's a lot of lakes out there, like the Lake Forks of the world. A lot of lakes, that have standing timber where you can catch these fish suspended. I've seen this a lot in a lot of lakes across the country. This is just a very well-known technique, and we see some guys kind of using this, but it does not seem to be a very consistent bite. It doesn't seem to be a bite that is happening all over the lake, because there's a couple of anglers that I really would have suspected to do really well in this event if that was like happening big time, like Patrick Walters. And maybe Patrick Walters will catch them. They have about an hour left to go in the day, so maybe he'll catch them here at the very end of the day. But I would have thought that he would have caught them really well. He was really one of the first guys that we saw to kind of do this type of technique and blow it up across really to the world using forward-facing sonar. But one of the biggest things that I noticed about Easton today that's a little bit different than Trey is that Trey primarily used a jerkbait yesterday. And like I said, there was a lot of wind happening across the system yesterday. And look, a jerkbait can work at all times of the year and in a lot of different conditions. But when you have a little bit of a wind there, it definitely helps those fish to commit to that bait a little bit better. And so we've kind of seen the wind in some of those areas really die down. And something that we've noticed that Easton has done is he's actually using a Nico rig to catch some of the fish that he's been catching, which is actually really interesting because he's not catching all these fish on the bottom on a Nico rig. He has caught some, but he's actually catching some fish that are suspended in these trees on that Nico rig, which is a really interesting way of fishing. And I actually just got to spend a whole day with Justin Atkins down in Alabama, and he really showed me how to fish this technique, and there's a lot of cool intricacies about it. I'm actually going to do a full video about it here in the coming future. But catching them suspended on a Nico rig is a big deal, and we see Easton kind of with more or less this dying wind conditions, relying on that Nico rig to get him some big bites. And he's got a huge bag right now, like 27, 28 pounds, probably closer to 30, really. And so the thing about it is he is probably going to be tough to beat because one, he has a big lead as of right now. All it takes is one of those guys who's behind him, like Trey, Corey Johnston, like Lee, to catch a 7, 8, 9, 10 pounder, which is very easy to do. Not easy, but it can happen so easily on that lake. If they catch one of those really big fish, they're going to be right there with them. And I'm actually really hoping that that happens late in the day today to kind of make it more of a race. But if he goes into tomorrow with a 10-pound lead, 11-pound lead, I feel like it's going to be very tough to beat him, because the thing is that he's been incorporating a jerkbait a lot as well. And I think that the fish, if it's windy in some of his areas tomorrow, he might be able to fish that jerkbait and catch them. If it slacks off, he's going to be able to use that Nico rig. I think the only thing that might slow down Easton at this point is if those fish really make a big push into shallow water. If they really make a big push. Now, we've seen some guys catching them on beds. There's definitely been some guys catching them in 3 and 4 foot of water around grass. But if you just look at it, the size of the fish that are being caught suspended in the timber right now is a different class of fish. There's a lot more of those 5 to 7 pound range fish that are being caught in the timber than there is in the grass and up shallow. So I think the only way that bite is going to slow down is if those fish make a big push, and the conditions are going to be pretty stable for the next day. I would say that if it was going to warm up a bunch, or if we were on the front side of a full moon, like if the full moon was going to come tonight, that's the only reason that I would say a lot of these fish would push up and really ruin Easton's bite. So I think he's going to be tough to be beat in this tournament. But with that being said, we saw how good of a day Trey McKinney had yesterday, leading the Classic, catching him in a very similar way that Easton is right now, and in a light switch that completely changed. I mean, Trey has struggled a little bit today. You've seen him actually use a jig, it looks like, a lot on the bottom, which is a lot different than the way that he was catching them. So, Easton could go out tomorrow and catch 10, 12 pounds, and one of the guys behind him could catch 30, and it's a totally different ballgame. So I think that it will come down to the end, but I do think at this point in time, it is going to be hard for Easton to lose this one. So, all right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I will give you an update tomorrow. Also, don't forget to check out the link down below in the description for fin fishing. I'll see you guys tomorrow.